Welcome to the Future of Teamwork podcast. My name is Dane Groeneveld, and today I've got a special guest, Ernesto Sirolli. Welcome to the show, Ernesto.
Hi, Dane. How are you? Nice to see you.
Yeah, really good to see you again. It's been quite a while, but I've been enjoying a lot of your material online.
Thank you. Very kind.
So maybe as a starting point today, Ernesto, we're here to talk a lot about teamwork, and I was fascinated when we first met hearing about some of your early stories. But could you give us a little bit of your personal and business background?
Yes, Italian born. I lived and worked some 11 years in various African countries from Zambia, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Algeria, Somalia, South Africa. And then 19 years lived and worked in Australia. And the last 25 years have been in the United States, 6 years in the Midwest, South Dakota and Minnesota, and then California for the rest of the time. I have a background in political sciences, and then I went into psychology and did a PhD on a concept of responsive development. Can we, for once, shut up and listen and learn to capture the passion, the energy, imagination of the people in the communities that we impact? And so 40 years ago, I created a new profession, the Enterprise Facilitator. If invited by a community, if we invited by a government, by a corporation, to work in a specific region or in a geography of intent, for instance, working for a population that is immigrants, refugees, people recently displaced, women, minorities. If we invited, we establish locally, we employ locally people to be trained to then become enterprise facilitators, which means people who from that point on will never initiate anything, will never motivate anybody, will simply learn to shut up and listen to self-motivated, passionate local people with a dream and help them transform talent, energy, imagination, and skills into a lifestyle, which is an entrepreneurial, sustainable business. And we've done that in 400 communities, approximately in 23 countries. And our enterprise facilitators have been able to establish or help to establish some 55,000 businesses in 4 continents. So
Wow.
We have given 7 TED Talks, written 2 books, and we were invited to come to the United States in 1995, and we have been given then a special visa for one of those national interest waivers and O1 to remain in America and set up a non-profit organization called the Sirolli Institute after my name. And we keep training and working with anybody with an interest in this kind of alternative, what we call third way of engaging people and communities, the third way, because the first one is paternalistic. We go there and we treat them as our children, and so we go there and we provide goods to children.
Yes.
The second way is patronizing, which is treating everybody as employees. So we tend to employ everybody that we can possibly employ in the hope to win hearts and minds of people locally by employing as many as possible. And the third way, I believe, is to instead facilitate the transformation of local intelligence into ways for local people to become better citizens, better husbands, better wives, by creating a way that is a sustainable way of feeding the families and themselves. So it's been a long journey. First project of Enterprise Facilitation was in 1985, and we have never, ever stopped and never really deviated from this kind of concept. And the way of helping entrepreneurs is what is so intriguing, because I see your logo, and our methodology is called the trinity of management.
Yes.
It's composed of 3 people, and your logo is absolutely perfect, because what we do when we meet a passionate, self-motivated individual in a community, anywhere in Africa, in Asia, we basically do a very simple drawing.
Yeah.
We do a smiley face. If it's a woman, we always put hairs around it. So that's the drawing that we do all over the world. And then what we do, we say a business to succeed needs to be doing 3 things beautifully. The product has to be beautiful. Marketing has to be fantastic. Financial management has to be immaculate, perfect. And what we said to the person at the top, we never met anybody who has the passion and skills to do those 3 things equally well. You have a dream. What do you want to do in your business? The product, marketing, or finance? If you could only do in your business what you love, which one of these would you do? And as soon as the person tells us what is their love, then we have been now told what she hates. So then we say, okay, so if you love to do the product, who is doing marketing, who is doing financial management? And we call this the trinity of management. And we transform solitary, passionate people who have the love to do one thing in a team of 3. So that's why the trinity is so important to us. And the trinity of management is what our enterprise facilitators teach. They say, you love to breed chicken. Who do you know in the community who's unemployed, underemployed, a woman who wants to re-enter the labor force after having children? Who do you know who is looking for something to do, has the most wonderful personality, and is capable of taking your chicken to the market every day? And then who do you know who understands numbers, who for 1 chicken a month will be able to look after your financials? And so we do that. The Trinity of Management we apply to Californian startups, Silicon Valley people. It's the same criteria. You have developed phenomenal software, phenomenal technology solutions, and but you are a nerd. You only love, coding. And what we say is that who is your business developer, which is the marketing, who is your chief financial officer, and come back to us when you have the team, and then we will work with your team to write a bankable business plan, do a minimum viable project, an MVP, but we do not take you to investors until you have a team. If you don't have a team of 3, you are not a business, you are a hobby.
I love that.
And
That's
so we don't put you in front of investors because putting you in front of investors is incredibly dangerous for yourself.
yeah. I love the fact that you just mentioned you did your first project in 1985. So you've essentially been out there reimagining, creating the future of teamwork for what's that, 37 years already?
Yeah, I look young, but I'm very old. I was already 35 in 1985,
Yeah,
and I started to work in Africa when I was 21,
yeah,
always in the field of development. So yeah, I've been at this for a long time, and I came to realize, for those who have not seen my most famous TED talk that is called "Shut Up and Listen."
yeah,
By age 28, 29, I had already seen how the two approaches of being patronizing and paternalistic are so incredibly fraught with
yes,
dangers, because you can imagine, as soon as your money run out, um, the people in communities around Africa didn't want to know us anymore.
yeah,
They only came to do work for us when we had the money, but as soon as the money ran out, we had not really changed their ways, because and been patronizing by say, okay, we become the patron of everybody and we pay to employ everybody,
yeah,
is unsustainable. Maybe in the construction phase of a new mine, you employ 3, 4,000, 5,000 people.
hmm,
But once the major work is done, your mine will employ a few hundred people in a community of thousands and hundreds of thousands. So you are not being able to really exercise any major economic role on a community of hundreds of thousands of people.
yeah. So really, what I'm hearing, Ernesto, is that by coming into these communities, you're harnessing the passion and the energy and the motivation of people who are there, who already have a resource and a strength, and then you're encouraging them to branch out and create a team that allows them to create economic vitality.
Yeah, but also you have to imagine that we in the 70s working
Yeah,
in Africa, um, we really thought that we were the saviors of the local people. We thought that we were so superior.
yeah,
And can you imagine the Western arrogance?
yeah,
Oh my God, these are children, we have to help these poor people, or let's employ them. But never, ever, ever cross our mind that the local people were not just the beneficiaries of our goodwill.
uh-huh.
See, for us, they were like, truly, they were there to receive. They were the people receiving our beneficence, our munificence.
Yes,
And never crossed our mind that actually the local people were actors in their own lives. we, we never listened to the local people because we thought that we were so superior to the local people. Why listen to them?
yeah,
And then you discover that, oh my God, we were the most arrogant and the most stupid people. When things went wrong, we always went wrong because we had zero understanding of the local conditions.
yes,
So, we were dealing with people who were so smart and so resilient, and we arrived superimposing our technology without understanding what was the sub-context.
yes,
So, the story that everybody knows me for is the story of our first project in Zambia, when in 1971 we arrived in a beautiful, pristine community on the Zambezi River at the border between Zambia and, at that time, still Rhodesia.
Yes.
And we arrived to teach the local people agriculture. And we set up this phenomenal training farm to teach the local people, Italian horticulture. We brought Italian seeds of, tomatoes and zucchini.
Uh-huh.
and we pretended to teach the local people because they had no agriculture. And we said, but guys, in such a fertile valley, it would be so easy to establish good agricultural, practices. And everything grew beautifully, but as soon as everything grew, the tomatoes became these beautiful tomatoes, enormous tomatoes that we had never seen the like in Italy. As soon as everything grew beautifully, the hippos came out of the river and they ate all our crops. And then when we look at the Zambian local people, they were laughing so hard, they had tears streaming down their faces, and they were pointing at us. They had always known that the reason why you cannot grow anything in an alluvial plain next to the Zambezi River is because the Zambezi River is full of thousands of floating cows. And they are the most dangerous animal in Africa.
Yeah.
And as soon as you grow anything, they can smell it, they come, and you cannot keep them out of your fields. Only after the fact, when we saw the Zambians laughing, we said, did you know about that? And they said, that's why we have no agriculture here, because of the hippos. Why didn't you tell us? Well, you never asked. You pay us every day to do what you want.
Yes.
And you are paying us the equivalent at that time. Just to give you an idea, that people are saying that people now are getting, there are some of the poorest people in the world on $1 American a day.
Yeah.
This is year 2022, okay? We were paying the Zambian people in 1971 $1 American equivalent a day.
Yeah.
So we were paying people like they had never seen so much money. In 1 week, they were making 7 times, they were making one day 10 times what their, villagers were
Yes.
making. So, of course, they were coming and working for us.
Yeah, why tell the boss? Why tell the boss they had it wrong when you're getting the paycheck? And
the Italians are coming. They want us, to plant, Coca-Cola bottles. We plant Coca-Cola bottles. We do not know what these people are thinking. But then when we told them, why didn't you tell us? They said to us, what do you mean?
Yeah. I wondered that, there's an interesting theme now coming out of COVID, not just in the development world, but right here down the street in California and other major cities around the world, where I wonder if there are some parallels. A lot of people have traditionally just turned up to work and done what their bosses have told them to do, but they've been in their communities sitting on great ideas, more aware of what the needs are. And then the pandemic comes along, people are forced to work from home. And now there's this technology and some more time. I wonder if we're now seeing an opportunity for all companies to adopt a little bit more of your framework.
Look, I received a message that my book is trending. And I said, my book, Ripples from the Zambezi, was written in 1995.
Yeah.
And the book is trending now, and people are discovering now, and they're saying, oh my God, Ernesto, listening to local people, that's what is what's fashionable now.
Yeah.
This is what are we trying to do, and you were doing it in 85.
Yeah.
Yes, we were in 85. My first project in a Australian remote village that was suffering because of a government decision of closing tuna fishing. In that community, in 24 months, we
Mhm.
worked with 60 clients, and the clients were, one client would have been 50 of the richest farmers in town, 27 other farmers, five fishermen. In 24 months, we set up 27 companies, and some of the companies were $1 million companies. For instance, the poorest five remaining tuna fishermen, the fishermen did the product. We found an international marketer who took the fish to Japan. The wife of one of the fishermen was a banker. She was working at a local bank. So product marketing finance. In 1 year, they were selling all the tuna catch in Japan at the famous Tsukiji market. And in Tsukiji market in Tokyo, they auctioned each tuna individually.
Yes.
So they went from selling tuna at 60 cents per kilo, and in 12 months, they were selling tuna for $15 per kilo.
It's a big margin improvement.
So what I'm saying is that we set up 27 companies. Some of these companies were $1 million companies, and then my PhD. I was doing that for my PhD, and then governments from various Australian states adopted my methodology. We invented enterprise facilitation.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when 36 enterprise facilitators in Western Australia, by the way, the program is still on after all these years, but at the height of the enterprise facilitation programs, the 36 enterprise facilitators working in 36 remote communities were creating 2,000 new businesses per year.
Yep.
And the Western Australian government did a independent study, and they came to realize that these 2,000 businesses were contributed $500 million to the economy every year. So it was like truly going looking for gold in those communities, and the gold was in their hearts and mind between the ears of people. Gold was there, and nobody had really gone prospecting for gold, and we invented this kind of go and prospect for intelligence and passion.
That's spectacular. And I read a lot right now on that theme of companies need to stop hiring for old tasks, and they need to start hiring for passion, intelligence, belief, purpose, heart, because you can teach, particularly as technology continues to evolve, you can teach people the skills as it comes along, or to your point, you can create the trilogy and bring in the necessary marketing or financial support if they're a product person. And I'm starting to see that shift in a lot of businesses. If you think about some of the teams that were created from your early enterprise facilitation efforts, are there any that really stand out who have scaled up and deployed technology or otherwise?
Yes, look, we have seen everything in those communities. We have helped entrepreneurs going from the basically the very prosaic to the very sophisticated. Mm-hmm. We have met brilliant minds in communities. I remember in a project in rural Kansas, we came across the very first trucking company that was using technology to sell the backloading space that they had in trucks. So, we had examples of application of technology when technology was, barely starting with the digital revolution. We have seen some very sophisticated people, as well as some very prosaic, like, people going into farmers, learning how to commercialize their own products, but even cooperatives, even large projects. We had an enterprise facilitator in a small community in South Dakota. And usually, we get 20, 30, 40 new businesses every year in a community of, say, 20 to 30,000 people. And when we checked about the numbers of businesses that this community had created in the first 4 years, we were disappointed because they had only created 9 new businesses in this South Dakota rural community. So we investigated and we said, how do are the people still paying for the salary of the enterprise facilitator? Are the people happy with what you've done? And they laughed and they said, we now have no unemployment because one of the businesses that 29 local farmers wanted to form was to create an ethanol plant.
Of course.
And now the ethanol plant has employed everybody in town. We are now doing projects that, we have zero unemployment. So they had one business, it cost them something like $28 million to build the plant. 4,000 farmers just brought produce to one ethanol plant. So, they said, we have created 9 businesses, but these are
the big one
in a community where already there was a scarce population and unemployment. But after the ethanol plant, really, so that project is still going on, and it is run by someone who is the daughter of the original enterprise facilitator. She has now become an enterprise facilitator. And it's 30 years old project. The first enterprise facilitator ever in Minnesota, his son works in local economic development with the father, and the original salary of the enterprise facilitator was from a university grant to allow us to train somebody for the first time in North America. Well, that person has been employed by the county government now by 30 years.
Yeah.
And so our enterprise facilitators, very often they get co-opted by local authorities to say, wow, we never knew that there were so many potential entrepreneurs in our community. But it's very interesting that we've been co-opted by big corporations, because I thought that governments would jump all over us to say, oh my God, this is perfect for rural development, regional development. So Ernesto, come and teach us. Yes, we have worked with governments, but we are working with corporations much more, because imagine what happens when a corporation says, Ernesto, how do we accelerate and retain our license to operate? We are in a community, we are impacting communities. We employ 300-400 people. That's not enough to make an impact in the local economy. But what else can we do? We do charity, we do the usual things. And so corporations said, what is this third way? And I said to the corporation, why don't you help local people create a parallel economy to yours? And they said, what? What? We said, yeah, you will be there for, say, 20, 30, 40 years. before you have to move or do something else
Yes.
because the local situation has changed. So why don't you help local people to create so many businesses that when you go away, you leave behind an economy that is flourishing, that is diversified?
Yeah.
And they say, can you do that? And I said, well, how much time you have? And they say, oh, no, we will be here for another 30 years. Really? In 30 years, I'll tell you what happens. You do in 30 years, you create. In Western Australia, in my first community, I was invited to celebrate 20 years of enterprise facilitation. So the community invited me back. And you can imagine the emotions to see some of the people you have met 20 years before. And in that community, the person in charge of running the enterprise facilitation project was the same person who was there when I was there. So he took the microphone and said to me, Ernesto, you will be very proud of us because in this community of 15,000 people in 20 years, we have helped to start or expand 800 businesses. So imagine the impact of 800 new businesses in a remote rural community. Basically, we have touched the lives of every single person in the community, and the project has not stopped. They keep going. So
it's a repeating cycle.
Yeah, because then it becomes a self-fulfilling, a ripple becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. People start to believe that their community is particularly smart because they have examples of successful entrepreneurs. So they have the neighbor who had gone from, selling something to a middleman to sell directly into a city market. So they've learned how to do it. So once your neighbor is not a price taker, but your neighbor is a price maker, the culture in the communities changed forever because they said, wait a moment, if John can do it, I went to school with John, I'm smarter. If John can make 10 times what I'm making by having the son and the daughter taking the produce to the market directly, why can't I do it? Actually, let me go to John to say, hey, can you please represent my product as well? I pay you 10%, but I'm making 80% more than what I was making selling it to a middleman.
So it really, the process not only creates teams, but it really creates more agency, more empowerment in the hands of everyone in the community. Yeah.
Everything is like day and night. You teach how to fish truly, because now you have a free confidential coach paid by the local corporation, paid by the local government, paid by a non-profit, but now you have somebody who lives there. Because we only recruit local people as enterprise facilitators. So you have somebody who speaks the dialect. Not even the language. No. Speaks the dialect of their community. Is the son or daughter of somebody who knows everybody. And is somebody who has children to the same school, goes to the same church, is of the same faith. And so now you have somebody from your own culture who is paid full time by the corporation, and whose sole work is to be this gold miner. In other words, she only works with self-motivated, beautiful people who have ideas, but not in a million years they would have known what to do with it. So the enterprise facilitator really teaches the essence of entrepreneurship, and corporations go crazy. We have worked with the biggest corporations in the world. It's we have worked with some of the biggest mining companies in the world. We have projects in in Africa, in Latin America. We have projects in Australia, of course, and but at the same time, we are still radical after 40 years, because do you realize what we've done? We have told everybody that they are missing the forest for the trees.
Yes.
They don't understand how brilliant the local people are, because they never, ever, ever taken the time to befriend them, sit at the kitchen table with them, and to ask the question, what's your dream?
I think the work that I've seen done, and there's some brilliant people out there working in economic development in a lot of different cities and countries, but what I see is their traditional playbook, maybe it falls more into your paternalistic, patronizing models, is, well, we're going to create new training pathways and we're going to attract businesses to come here and create jobs. But there aren't many of those groups that are really asking people, what is your dream, and finding those motivated people. Are you seeing, in addition to training the enterprise facilitators, are you seeing a role of the Sirolli Institute in actually going in and working with some of these groups to talk about the education, the outreach?
Yeah, anyway, we have worked with some of the biggest companies in the world, training the trainers and educating the staff. We have worked with one of the largest materials company in the world. The headquarters in Mexico. They work in some 30 countries in the world. They have some very, very sophisticated manufacturing layouts in Europe, and they are very. And what we've done, we have worked with 140 of the corporate social responsibility people to train them. We work with the seventh largest company in the world for market capitalization to train all their personnel about facilitation versus. So yes, we are desperate to explain the third way, which is don't be careful. Nobody is stopping you from doing what you traditionally have done, but be careful with your charitable giving, because there is no enemy like a local artist group or church group that you have supported for, say, 10 years. If you have given $1 million for the past 10 years to a group in a community, and then you stop, you are going to see fury like you have never seen before. So it's not the people who you have not helped. It's the people who you have created a dependency upon yourself.
Great point.
Yeah, the most dangerous because they will say, we do not know how to survive without your money. So if you stop the grant, we are going to fold. And to fold something that has become, a very well-run arts organization or local charity, you basically are sucking the life out of an organization that thought that you would be there forever.
It's
and
interesting.
So you create dependency, and the worst thing that you can do, the greatest sin to be avoided at all costs, what we teach our enterprise facilitator is this: if you create dependency upon yourself, you will be fired by us. Because creating dependency means you infantilize your client. You transform your client in a child. You don't teach your child how to walk. You are keeping that child dependent upon you. You are, and now you have an incapable child. It looks like a grown-up, but it's not capable of looking after himself. Cannot live without you. And what have you done? Now you created dependency. And when you employ people thinking, oh, we will be fine, be careful, because when you have to fire 1,000 people after the construction stage of your mine,
Yeah.
those 1,000 people will resent you.
Yeah. And that you talked about a couple of topics that I think fall in line there. You talked about license to operate, and you talked about parallel economy. I was in Houston recently talking to the foundation of a large oil and gas company, and they were talking about energy transition. And they were suggesting that in Louisiana, there are a lot of oil and gas facilities that create a lot of economic vitality. It's not just the people that have jobs, it's the catering companies, it's the local service providers. And they explained that with the energy transition, at some stage, they're going to decommission those facilities and those jobs won't be there. So really what their job needs to be is embracing the future of teamwork, embracing the future of work, and saying, we're going to look at this parallel economy. We're going to create opportunities for entrepreneurs to find out what we're going to be after oil and gas.
But I really think that we've been asked to help to rewrite the policy statement for some of these corporations.
Yes.
Where we say the real the policy statement is this. While we're here, for all the years in front of us, we will, for free and in confidence, we will help any local people who has a dream to feed herself and her family and become, a viable entrepreneur.
Yes.
We will work for free and in confidence with any of you, so as to create a parallel economy to the economy of our corporations.
Yes.
And we make you a promise that we will create more jobs outside of the mine, outside of the refinery, than inside.
Yes.
So that when we will close, we are going to leave the community in much better shape than when we found it.
Yes.
So the idea is an idea where you become a partner in local development by creating a parallel economy to yours.
Yeah.
And we, just to tell you how important this is becoming, never in our history we had a January as busy as this year. Because people are waking up after this kind of the pandemic with renewed energy and understanding that things have to change. So there are increased entrepreneurial opportunities seen by everybody. Yes. Corporations needing new technologies and having to learn how to innovate and become more sustainable. People inside corporations having discovered that they have a talent and skill, and that they can work remotely, and they can maybe become more capable of exploring their own talents.
Yes.
And so what happened is that all of a sudden, this idea of being able to facilitate entrepreneurship and innovation is becoming very appealing.
Yeah.
And we want to work and we want to educate as many people as possible. So we train social corporate responsibility personnel. We've been called by the most bizarre organizations. We invited to to train people in so many different industries. We were invited to address a risk management conference in Melbourne, Australia. And we said, why us? We know nothing about risk management. And they said, well, the problem is that, we don't know how to listen, really. Can you tell, because the greatest problem for risk managers, once it was all finance, now is corporate reputation.
Yeah.
one of the greatest risks for corporations is their reputation risks. There is an article in the paper disclosing that you have blown up a Aboriginal cave.
Yes.
Or you discover that you have sweatshops in Bangladesh, and there is publicity about it. That's reputational risk is so grave, and so. But so many different industries. It's like that TED talk of mine, the Shut Up and Listen. The story of the hippos has gone around the world many times, and I touched a nerve, and I did not realize how sensitive that nerve was. So this is something that we love. We are a training organization, and we would like to train more and more corporate corporate social responsibility managers, personnel, on the third way of engaging communities.
No, that's brilliant. Ernesto, thanks for joining me today. It's been a wonderful conversation, so much passion and energy. And, if I think to summarize that third way, that listening and harnessing the passion, the energy, the motivation of people that are already out there, it's such an accessible way to make change and to make sustainable change. I agree with you, to your comment on January being busy. Now's the time to take action.
Then it is also the cheapest possible corporate social responsibility strategy that you can have, because most of our projects are 1 to 3 people paid in local currency.
Yes.
Because we want the enterprise facilitators to be paid in local currency, so that when the corporation pulls out, the local government can afford them.
Yes.
So we suggest to do the opposite of what some of the NGOs do in developing countries, where they pay international rates for personnel. Yep. And then when they pull out, nobody has the ability to pay international rates. So nobody keeps their positions open. Whereas what we do, we say from the beginning, the enterprise facilitator is paid a very good local salary. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is that, you have enterprise facilitators in the Congo who have created 3,000 jobs in one community in the Congo in 10 years, like hundreds of new businesses. They are paid the equivalent of maybe $400 American dollars a month, which is the best salary in that community, but it's something that then is also affordable by the community that now pays the salary of the enterprise facilitator through a church group, because we have kept that salary local. Otherwise, the project would have died, 8 years ago.
Yes.
So, in terms of enterprise facilitation, is truly a very radical but sustainable policy for corporations. Yeah, and I want if please share with your listeners our contacts. We want to be of you helpful.
Absolutely.
And so
we'd love to do that. How do people find you?
To work with you, because I know that you are doing some terrific work. I am absolutely convinced that you have stolen that logo from my future. Because that logo is absolutely perfect. And I think that we are absolutely on the same wavelength. So thank you very much for reaching out.
No, thanks, Ernesto. We'll definitely work together. I've got a few projects in mind, immediately top of mind. But if people want to find you, if any of our audience want to find you, what's the easiest way?
My Sirolli.com.
Great.
And we use social media. Ernesto Sirolli is my full name. I would invite everybody to watch Shut Up and Listen, which is, if you really want to help someone, Shut Up and Listen. That's my TED Talk that has now more than 4 million viewers, has been translated in 35 languages. They can have their own people in country watch it.
Yes.
We work with corporations recently also in the health delivery systems, because people are very interested in applying enterprise facilitation approach to the delivery of health solutions. And yes, very easy to find us, but also through you. I really would like that people would get in touch with you to follow, to put us in touch. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure we do that. Well, thanks again, Ernesto. I really appreciate your time today. Absolute pleasure.
Bye-bye. Nice talking to you. Ciao. Ciao, ciao. Bye.